Yeah, let's make sure you're good to go. How about now? I think we're good. Absolutely. So how's your day going, man? Look, dude, it's been a mess, man. I'm just trying to like get through everything, and this whole day has been crazy. But how are things on your end? How's your day going? I know you may not want to talk about it, but I know you had a loss with the Saints, one of your most greatest teams. How are you?
I'm in the sloughs of depression currently, but I'm working through it. Had a nice round of golf this morning in true like white guy fashion. So enjoying Florida sunshine, being that it is what
Right.
January 18th now, and it was like 60 degrees outside. So
Okay.
enjoying that.
So you were enjoying it. That's good. And so, I mean, do you think that Drew Brees? I mean, we're talking a little bit about sports here in NFL, but do you think this was Drew Brees' ride into retirement?
Oh, without a doubt. He hasn't officially announced or anything, but after the game, you see him like walk to the tunnel, and he like he waves to the crowd and all, and then you see him like take this last look back at the Superdome, and I'm just tearing up and like a baby
Yeah.
because it's clearly the last time he's walking off the field. It's very devastatingly sad.
Yeah, that was I have to admit, it was definitely one of those where you feel like there goes that person's life work, in his case being a professional athlete and just being a great, person to the community and to, just really an inspiration to the NFL as far as the way he conducted himself, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, and for the listeners who haven't seen this before, I'm from South Mississippi, an hour or so outside of New Orleans, and it's more than football. It really is. He came to the Saints at a time when there was nothing. Like Katrina had happened, the team was garbage, and it changed a lot of stuff. And yeah, just honestly grateful to have had the opportunity to watch him, play with the Saints. But definitely a sad evening nonetheless.
Yeah, I think so too. I think for me, I can't tell you that I've latched on to any specific team. I know you and I have gotten to a great
Watching,
amount of debates
watching you,
back in
sir.
our old store. Yeah, back into our old our
Store.
old show,
We
our
did work
old
at a
show.
store together. That did
We
happen.
did, we did, we did. But like, I think the biggest thing for me is it was a great um, game in the sense that it was very close for a long time, and I think some of the mistakes that happened, it could have gone either way. I think the biggest thing for me was the fact that he that his teammates did not help him with some of the mistakes that
Yeah,
were
yeah.
made.
And he didn't play well either. I
Right?
mean, it was just it turn the ball over that many times, you're gonna lose. But anyway, man, talk to me.
Yeah, yeah,
I've got all kinds of stuff about sports, so we could talk about that for a while. But we do have a sister station, County Sports, which you guys should check
yes.
that out. But I have not been keeping up with entertainment news whatsoever. I've been just neck deep in sports recently, so I'm leaning on you to tell me what's going on out there because I have no
Absolutely.
idea.
Well, there's a lot to unpack, but I do want to, introduce us and introduce the show. We haven't had a proper introduction. We've had, as being a struggling podcast, a startup. We've had a lot of technical issues that I believe have been worked out. And listening to a little of the background noise, everything sounds really good. We look really good. We really wanted to make it bring a yeah, bring a
We look good, damn it.
right. Yes, if anything, we look good and the sound is good. So, like, if all else fails, then we have that.
There
But
you
like
go.
the biggest thing was, what brought us to create this this channel on YouTube was to really highlight entertainment, highlights, sports. As you can see on the scroll right now, it does say subscribe to Lights Up Productions, where our motto is we're not just entertainment and sports, but we're a whole lot more. And, so we're still trying to, figure out and identify what that more is. But I got to tell you, I'm really excited, to be doing this weekly show with Kyle, a very dear friend of mine who loves movies, who loves entertainment, who loves like hearing all the tea and all the gossip about who's starring in what and who's doing what and who's going to be Batman and how many Batmans are going to be in the universe. Like a million. Hello, a million. No, but in all seriousness, we're really excited to have you. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe, please do so. If you like this kind of content, we definitely appreciate it. But without further ado, Kyle, let's get it cracking. So to start out with, a lot of stuff to unpeel. I want to keep it, simple. I had some graphics that I wanted to share, but you know what? I just want to talk to the audience. I want to kind of talk to you and like really just kind of dive into what I've been hearing in entertainment news. So to start off, yeah, I'm gonna lay it on. To start out with, one of the biggest pieces of news that came out this week was a few different things. One, we have Warner Brothers and the whole mess with HBO Max. If you're not familiar about it, basically Warner Brothers said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take every movie that we were going to release theatrically in the movie theaters before COVID-19 ravaged, the entertainment industry as well as the world in many, many ways. We're gonna take our movie slate and put it on HBO Max, our streaming startup. And so a lot of people were not happy with that, especially the theater owners. Feeling a lot of just a lot of disappointment because they felt like they were being stabbed in the back, like Brutus. Like what was his name? Caesar. That's Popeye, right?
Like Brutus.
Yeah, I'll leave it to you for Shakespeare. Who was it? Was it Caesar?
I don't know. It's been
Okay,
like 10 years since I've taken a Shakespeare class.
fine. But let me just throw movies out to you. Matrix, going to be released on HBO Max concurrently with a theatrical release.
Mhm.
Godzilla vs. Kong is coming out in March, HBO Max premiere. Lots of different movies that are coming out later in the year. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but The Sopranos, there is a prequel that's in the works called The Many Saints of Newark. I don't know if have you heard of that?
I have. Yeah, I don't think you could have chosen 3 examples I cared less about. I
What?
swear. I
So,
could
so
not care less about any of those.
first of all, you can't care less about a prequel to one of the greatest TV series ever made in The Sopranos.
I have never seen it.
You
I
are,
know.
you have homework.
I could see it in your face. You wanted
I
to curse
cannot,
me out right then, didn't you? You
I
did.
cannot First of all, you should be ashamed of yourself because you profess to enjoy great television,
I do
right?
enjoy good television.
Great scripted television, but yet you haven't seen one of the greatest shows that ever graced the TV world. Actually, two of the greatest, because I'm going to call you out on the fact that you ready for this,
Are you
audience?
about Breaking Bad? Are about to
He's
start Breaking Bad?
he has not watched Breaking Bad.
I
So
have
you're
watched Breaking Bad. No.
okay.
Stop.
Uh,
Calm
all
your
right.
dirty mouth down.
All right.
I watched the first season of Breaking Bad and 2 episodes into the second. Couldn't get into it. Just couldn't get into it. I don't get what all the fuss is about.
Excuse me.
And let me just preempt this because I know what you're gonna say, and I know what everyone who watches this is gonna say. Oh, in the second season, it gets better. Kind of like you say with the Mandalorian. In the second season, it gets good. If I have to watch a full season and a half for a show to get good, it's a crap show. I'm telling you now.
Listen. First, we'll talk about that. We're gonna unpeel that part in no time. But okay, what about the Matrix? Why? What problem do you have with the Matrix?
You okay? 33% of the Matrix films have been good. That's a failing grade, sir. That's a failing grade.
You weren't a
33%.
fan of part 2 or 3, is what
No,
you're saying.
not.
Okay, fine. Well, there are a lot of over $1 billion at the box office would say it warranted a sequel.
Transformers makes $1 billion at the box office every time they slap a fucking Decepticon on the TV, and it's a garbage. They're garbage films. That
First
doesn't
of
mean
all,
anything.
Keanu Reeves is a beloved actor. I believe
Is
that
he?
this one, Yes. How could you say he's not a
You
beloved
think he's
actor?
beloved?
Beloved. I didn't say he was a great
Beloved.
actor.
You
I
think
didn't
he's
say he was great.
beloved?
I said he's definitely beloved. I mean,
Mm.
if we were to poll the people that are listening to this show, whenever you
Yes.
do have
Is
a
he
chance to listen,
beloved?
is Keanu Reeves beloved? I believe he is.
Not
Everybody
is he a
talks
good
about.
actor, but is he beloved?
I think he
That's
is
that's the question.
definitely. He is beloved. But anyway, The Matrix is also going to be released in theaters as well as HBO Max.
Right.
So that's a few other things. We know Wonder Woman was just recently released, and this is going to be our main topic for tonight. We're definitely going to talk about Wonder Woman. We're going to talk about in detail. We're going to review Wonder Woman, but we're also going to review another movie, which was
Oh,
remind me
Captain
again.
America: The Winter Soldier.
Captain America.
Did you
Right,
forget?
the Winter Soldier.
Did you
Yeah, well,
forget?
I think the last time I said it was Civil War or
You
something
did
like
say
that.
Civil War the last time.
So
Yes.
I know I was getting my Captain Americas confused, but listen, I cannot wait to talk about that because that's a lot to unpack. The other thing I want to talk about is what are your thoughts with regards to the um, the the current state of movie theaters? Do you think that movie theaters will come back strong after COVID finally, starts to, kind of like we get a hold of it?
So I think there's going to be an initial like surge of people who are like, "Oh, we can leave our house again. Let's go to the movies." Because I have historically loved going to the movies. It's an
Mhm.
experience. We love that. I do think that the industry overall is moving to streaming services. So long term, the theater model is going to become this boutique thing. It's not going to be the primary way we receive movies. Have you seen the like Netflix commercial they've been running during the NFL playoff games? They have films coming out with major stars like The Rock, Ryan Reynolds, Gadot, sorry, Leonardo DiCaprio is in a film. In the last year, Martin Scorsese released a film directly to Netflix. If this is not the biggest endorsement of the industry moving to streaming, I don't know what is. You have the
Kyle,
biggest names are going to streaming.
I've just been informed, crazy enough, that people are actually have found that we are streaming, and
Okay.
somehow have found us, and so
Okay.
they're on the chat,
Cool.
and so they're asking to interact. So
Sure.
I just wanted to real quickly tell you that Bueller Any 133 says, Kyle, my guy, you are wrong. Okay, that was from Bueller.
About
I don't know who
what?
that is.
Bueller, what?
About
About
the
what?
movie theaters, about your assessment of the movie theater industry, and then also Dark Eyes says that she watched Breaking Bad and thought the entire show in its entirety was a great show. So I think the problem is, Kyle, if I may say
If
so,
you may,
your
go ahead.
attention span is really like, I guess the hook has to come in like immediately in order for you to stick with it.
Okay. All right. So let's. We're sidetracking here, but
I know you, but
that's
I
okay.
didn't
Really quick
expect
things.
people to just,
That's okay.
start
That's
asking
okay.
questions.
We're going to dance with it. Really quick things. First of all, if you think that the movie theater industry is not in trouble, you are not watching what the trends are happening, how things are unfolding. You're not watching. So I'm sorry, but that's the truth. All right, Breaking Bad. So you recommended a show to me some time
I,
ago that's a similar genre to Breaking
I did.
Bad in
I did.
Ozark.
Yes, I did. Of
I love that show. That
course,
show is amazing.
it's a
That
great
is
show.
one of my favorite shows on television. Well, not
I
even
know.
television. It's on streaming services. But I love it. It's a great show. Similar genre, but that's how you do that show. That show from the first episode, I was like, I'm all in. Let's go. I need
Well,
more. I need it.
yeah,
That's a good show.
but here's the thing, though. I think you haven't given the opportunity to really get into what is
I
arguably
watched the
one of
whole
the best
season.
shows ever made. But see, the problem is you have 5.5 seasons, which the fifth season you really could say was broken up into to two.
5 seasons.
5 seasons of what I tell you, it is considered outstanding entertainment. It has gone down with critics and audience alike as being one of the best shows ever made. And yet you
Cool.
won't even give it a second thought to move forward from the first season.
I watched the first season and 2 episodes of the second. What more shot do you want from me? I don't know what you want from me. I don't know. I'm currently suffering through the Mandalorian on your behalf.
Well, we'll get into the Mandalorian. We have a whole other show for that. But I do want to say that there are people, there are listeners, and thank you for listening, that they can't believe Kyle doesn't like Mandalorian,
No.
Breaking Bad.
No.
Has not seen The
I
Sopranos.
haven't seen The Sopranos. Look, it's not that I don't like The Sopranos. I just haven't seen The Sopranos.
Homework, my friend.
Okay,
Okay.
I will take a look at The Sopranos. I will take a look at The Sopranos. I have not watched it
because they are people that want you to see it. I want you to see it because I love it. I think it's a great show. You have HBO Max. You can watch the entirety of all 6 seasons on there. So let's
punt on the Mandalorian for a little bit and watch The Sopranos. Is that acceptable to you?
I think that we can safely do that. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
So with that said, there's so much other things we want to talk about, but let's get into the meat and potatoes of today's show. Both Kyle and I said, what are we going to review to kick off this show? And we've had some technical difficulties for those of you that were part of our preview show, and so I believe we've worked through that. I'm hearing that we sound and look great, so that's a very big positive. And we've got a really cool banner going through to subscribe to Lights Up Productions for movie, sports, and more. So we definitely appreciate you doing so if you like what you hear and see. So to begin, Wonder Woman 84.
Yes.
A lot to unpack. I've talked a lot. I just want you to just bring us through Wonder Woman 84, and I would like to know how you felt about Wonder Woman 84, and then I'm gonna bring it back to me and tell you how I felt about it as well.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Are we talking spoilers, or do I need to keep this really high level?
At this point, this is going to be a spoiler-filled review of Wonder Woman 84. If you have not seen it already, I would recommend that you don't listen to the rest of this because we're going to have to go into spoiler territory in order for us to effectively dissect and unpeel or unpack Wonder Woman 84. So you've been forewarned.
All right.
Go ahead.
Fair enough. I didn't want to spoil it if someone hasn't seen it. So I think it's important to say first that I really enjoyed the first Wonder Woman. I greatly enjoyed the first Wonder Woman. Aside from the ending up in this huge CGI battle at the end, which was really out of character of the rest of the film. Otherwise, I thought it was a great movie. Greatly enjoyed it. Top to bottom. Great film. So this film, let me say first of all things I liked. Gal Gadot is excellent as Wonder Woman. I think when you and I first talked about the film, not on this, but just outside of in regular life, I said that I felt like she embodies that character in a similar fashion to Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I think she has done such a good job with being Wonder Woman that in my mind, she is Wonder Woman. So she did great. I think the casting was excellent there. Right. Bringing it back to the Mandalorian, the main antagonist on this, who also plays the Mandalorian, and Whiskey in Kingsman, if you've seen that as well. I thought he was a good casting. I think he does well. Chris Pine's good as Steve Trevor. So casting, excellent. The movie, the music in the movie, also solid. I thought Kristen Wiig as Cheetah was also solid. I was skeptical about her because she's definitely a comedic actress typically, but I don't know. I thought she did really, really well playing the role. So they made the right choices, I think, with the casting. I think the story was fine. I don't think it knocked my socks off or anything, but the story was fine. They definitely didn't go the action movie route. They went the we're trying to build characters, and I don't hate that either. That's solid. So I think they did well there. So that's what did I like? What did you like, Mr. Clark?
Okay. So let me just say, obviously growing up in the 80s, the whole 80s theme, or being set in the 80s really appealed to me at first. I thought it was a great way to to bring Wonder Woman from where we left off with her back in in the, I believe it was World
World War
War,
One.
and then bring her into the 80s. I thought that was really, something that I could get excited about, obviously being a product of the 80s. And then also, you know, uh, I was very impressed with the theme, the music, the soundtrack. I thought was extremely done well. I don't normally care for the the person who the composer
Mhm.
of the music, and I apologize, his name escapes me, but he is done all of he's done Batman versus Superman, Man of
Oh, is it Hans
Steel.
Zimmer? Did Hans Zimmer just?
Yes,
I did
Hans
not know.
Zimmer.
Okay, I won't
Yes,
lie. I didn't know Hans Zimmer did music in this
yes,
movie.
he did. He
Okay.
did. So for me, I was kind of concerned because he tends to go very electro funk and very like beats, but not like classical, like
I think you're a little jaded because back in for Batman vs Superman, it also had Junkie XL was
right.
also doing it. So I think because
So there was
Hans
a
Zimmer,
combination.
I think that that fucked with the perception a little bit. But anyway, I'm sorry. Carry on.
I will say I did love his Dark Knight,
Yeah.
Batman Begins trilogy of soundtracks. I thought the soundtrack for Wonder Woman was amazing. I really enjoyed it. That was for me a standout. One of the other things I thought was done well was I really enjoyed the Washington scenes and how they how they played out. I thought they were filmed on location. I was
Yeah.
actually there with my family, and we actually filmed at the scene where we took pictures where the scene where the mall was,
Hmm.
and the outside where the villains get dropped into the car. We were right there, took pictures right where the car was, and so it was pretty neat to see that, right? Um, and I will say some of the action set pieces I liked. So
Okay.
and then of course the Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman and the cast. For me, the highlights are Gal Gadot, also Chris Pines as Steve Trevor. He brings a warmth and humanity to the role, and you really do root for him. And I also really thought that the two actors that they chose, the one being Pedro Pascal, who also happens to be the
Didn't know
Mandalorian,
his name until
right?
right now.
Pedro Pascal is the Mandalorian, as well as the villain of the piece, Maxwell Lord, and then Kristen Wiig played Cheetah. I thought that they were excellent as far as the way they acted in the film. So that's my like. So I'm gonna kind of throw it back to you now to kind of walk us through what you didn't like, because I know that there's a bunch of things I didn't like that I want to talk about as
While I'm talking about this, okay, I didn't prepare you for this, but
well.
you know how Rotten Tomatoes has their 0 to 100, fresh or
Right,
rotten ratings. I want you to
right.
be thinking conceptually if you had to like put a numeric value 0 to 100 on this film.
Hmm.
Be prepared for that. So just be
Oh, well,
percolating on it, just to put you on the spot.
fine, fine.
Okay. Okay. So the first Wonder Woman,
Mhm.
the there's we all know the no man's land scene. Like it's a great scene. It's well done. It's emotional. You feel it. There's no scene like that in this film. There's no one scene where I'm like, damn, that was such a great scene. I want to see it again and again. Like there's nothing like that. I'm gonna disagree with you on the 80s because why not? So World War One in that first Wonder Woman film was kind of its own character. Like the setting really carried a lot of that movie. That the setting really defined a lot of the film. I feel like the 80s thing, which I like films set in the 80s. I like Stranger Things. I think we've talked about that. Um,
Right.
Also set in the 80s. In like Stranger Things, the 80s is also a character kind of in the show.
Yes.
Very reminiscent of like Stephen King novels where the 80s are feel like a character in the story. That's not the case in this movie at all. The 80s just kind of exist there. And I won't say it's like bad or anything. It just was kind of, this film could have happened at any point in time between World War I and now. Like, you really could have told a very similar story. So I thought the setting was kind of whatever to me. There were some weird lighting issues, I think, during the final battle with Wonder Woman and Cheetah. Because I read a bunch of stuff about people complaining about the CGI of Cheetah, and I didn't see the issues, I guess, with the CGI. It was more of that I couldn't see Cheetah really well, and I've been thinking about that. I don't know if that's also because of the contrast of colors between her and the bright golden suit that Wonder Woman had on. That just, like, the contrast just didn't work in the lighting. I don't know, but that scene was odd. The lighting was odd, and it was there and it was gone.
Okay.
Really quickly. So I thought that was kind of weird. And I like Chris Pine and Steve Trevor, as previously mentioned. He was kind of shoehorned into this film. I don't hate how they brought him back necessarily,
Right.
because because Wonder Woman had to give up something that she cared about, as well, before she asks our antagonist to give up what he's been trying to gain this whole time. So I think that's good character development, but it's kind of weird to me that she's like banging this dude who she only sees as Steve Trevor, but like he has his own consciousness, and I guess it's just like asleep during this whole thing. And I say that because then at the end of the movie, she runs into that guy that Steve Trevor was just like inhabiting this whole time.
Right.
Was that not weird as hell to anybody else? I thought that was weird.
You just don't worry about that, because I will definitely be giving a retort about that. Yes.
Okay.
Without.
So I thought that was weird overall. So. I guess kind of overall, so that's your pros and cons. Overall, I feel like it was the movie was fun. Like, it was perfectly fine. I don't have like this issue that I'm like, no, this fucking movie is terrible. That's not the case. It was fine. It also didn't blow my skirt up either. I wasn't like running to call you the next day like, no, Clark, did you watch Wonder Woman? It wasn't like that. So
right. Fair enough. Yeah, very interesting assessment. I think one of the things that I was hoping would give me all the feels and the nostalgia was the setting in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, I was disappointed in the execution. And I got to tell you, if you're going to put Wonder Woman in the 80s, right? One, I don't expect it to be where every single moment has to be an 80s pun, or you know what I mean, like something like it doesn't need to be obvious to the audience, right? Yeah. It should be more organic. And I felt for the most part they tried to balance that, but I think what ended up happening was it started to become a parody of itself in that, because okay, so we're going to get the obligatory walk through the 80s mall, right? With Steve Trevor going, oh, wow, woo-wee, wow, oh my goodness, what's going on? Oh, boy, right? We're going to get that, right? And then we'll get the, like, kids in the background breakdancing, right? And then walking through and just kind of like, and then we get the, the obvious cliches of the 80s. I get it, right? It's in the 80s. But I have to say that the missed opportunity for me had to do with what was also the warmth of the 80s, where it's like, okay, give me, I mean, granted, I don't make the decisions with movies or anything like that, but what really excited me about Wonder Woman 84 and the whole 80s thing was the trailer, because it had that whole 80s music.
Yeah, they rocked that 80s music.
Right. I did not hear any recognizable '80s tracks, and I think that was a miss. Because if you want to make it into that, hear me out for a second.
Yeah,
If
I'm
you're going to go as
contemplating.
yeah, if you're going to go as far as to go through the whole thing. Okay, we're going to have the '80s, workout person in the mall, and we're going to have people in the mall, and we're going to have, the crazy, wild pants and, parachute pants, and then have Steve Trevor. Why not just have music that people could be like, oh my God, look who that, there's Madonna playing, like I thought it was like, I think it was missed because I think here's the thing, and I think it gets to the point that you were bringing with regards to kind of it becoming very story driven, which is fine if the story is good, and I'll get into that in a second. But more importantly, if you're going to put us in the middle of the '80s, let us feel it and not just get moments where we feel like you basically gave us the obligatory, here's the '80s, ding, here's the '80s, ding, here's the '80s, ding. So that was my concern. Couple other things that I did not.
Let me ask you a question about that.
Yeah,
So,
please feel free to interject.
If you take out the really obvious '80s nods, but you keep the core story the same, could you shift this story to any other decade? Could it be in the '70s or the '90s, early 2000s? Could it be in a different decade, or are the '80s like an integral part to this story?
I think that the '80s is an integral part to the story, which I think was also weak. I think the story was weak because what you have here is excess, greed. What is it the villain saying? He goes, um, you can have more. You know what I mean? Like, or you can get more, you can want more, you can wish more. Don't you wish you had more, or something along those lines. But my point is that the whole excess of the '80s, I think it only touched the surface of it. I don't think it really delved into that whole '80s thing. And then also too, like, let's be honest, like it was a time of, well, you may not know this, but I was in grade school at the time, and the threat of nuclear war was very prevalent in the '80s, or at least the conversation. How close we ever got to that point is up to debate. But I think that it should have been more central, like the risk. Yeah, at the end you have the warheads and the nuclear, the weapons being pointed to each of the countries. But I just didn't feel that sense of like, it didn't feel like it was earned throughout the entire story because we got, and hear me out here, you have too much going on. You have us revisiting the Amazons again, which I think is a great story in itself, right? Which I think could be a great movie in itself, right? How the Amazons, defeated the conquerors or whatever else that happened in the history of the Amazons. However, it did not fit for me in the course of the film because it was, I think, too much of a good thing. You explored it in Wonder Woman, right? The first one, and yet you're revisiting it again. And then you're also, you're going into right from there into the '80s. And then it just felt like two different openings. And I think that the movie dragged at times because of it.
So here's what I want you to contemplate. So all the stuff you said, very true. But you could take a lot of the same stuff and put it in the early 2000s, where we spent the early 2000s afraid of terror attacks. So the threat of something potentially happening was strong, early 2000s. We dealt with financial institutions that were living in excess, which led to a financial crisis at the end of the 2000s. So I think that you can have a lot of those same things in a different decade. So that's why I say that the '80s doesn't matter at all to the film, because you could find other similar time periods in history. Whereas the first Wonder Woman, you can't drop that into a different time frame and works, because World War I was such a big part of driving that story. So I think that the film suffers from the suffers, I don't know, but the setting doesn't matter. Like they sold it so hard in the trailers. You're right, they sold it really, really hard in the trailers about the '80s, and the '80s were just not consequential, I feel like, at all to the film. That's just me.
That's, I mean, it's for me, it's part of the reason why there was, for me, problems with the story because you're saying it didn't really matter to you. However, if the story was relevant to the 80s and it was executed in a way that wasn't so, I think, bogged down by a weak, for me, you have two problems going on. You have a weak villain. No fault of Pedro Pascal. I thought he is a great actor, but I thought that was that villain for me was poorly executed. I thought that Kristen Wiig had an opportunity to really knock it out of the park with Cheetah, but she was hamstrung by underdeveloped character and a character that at the end of the film, hear me out, at the end of the film, hear me out, was completely negated to a supporting villain role slash fight scene, obligatory fight scene that was poorly lit, as you mentioned, which is what a problem I had with the action set pieces. I thought the desert action set piece was amazing. I did not think that the end scene fighting with the cheetah was executed at a good level. I thought the lighting was poor. The CGI rendering was poor as well. And that's just my thoughts.
Why don't you think? What's your issue with the villain?
I think the problem with the villains, or specifically the problem that I had with Cheetah, is that the whole thing is predicated on what I call the movie guffin, which is that one piece that kind of propels the story. In this case, it was the what was it called? The crystal, the wishing. What was it? I don't even. But see, the fact that we don't remember. The fact we don't remember is because it wasn't an effective piece, because it just was one of those, okay, here's a wishing thing. You could wish on it, but we'll forget about the rules because you can kind of take back your wish. That doesn't make sense.
I do agree with that. That's not what I'm talking about, though. I agree with what you just said. I agree with that. But the villains, what's your issue with them?
If you allow me to finish, I'll get to the point.
You went on a side tangent.
Well, no, I got to listen. In order for me to give you and drive it home, I've got to bring you along for the ride, my friend. And you've got to sit down and be patient.
It takes so long.
I understand that, but you know what? In order for us to be able to articulate what is going on, Kyle, and this is what happens when you watch films and we discuss movies, you want everything to go at such a light,
just get
fast
to the point. I don't need to lecture. Get to the point.
All right, fine. My point is, well, you wanted the answer. I gave you the answer. So my point is that, all right, fine. My point is, one, how do you have Barbara turn into Cheetah, right? Mm-hmm. And then also she loses her sense of humanity. I guess the wishing well, or whatever you want to call it, takes something good about you, right? The Wonder Woman, it took powers. With her, it took, I guess, her sanity. I don't know what you want to call it. But here's what my point is that was she really? Do we really understand what motivated her to want to be bad? Like that's the point that what?
It wasn't to be bad. It was to be powerful, to be confident, to not be who she was.
But powerful and confident doesn't always have to equal bad.
No, but in this case, it did, because what you just said is very true, that it took the good out of her. It took the good from her, which was the thing that was the redeeming quality of her. It took that, and so then the wanting to be confident and the wanting to be more like Diane, but without the goodness, becomes bad. Because if you take Wonder Woman and you remove the goodness, I mean, what do you have? You have someone that's powerful but without a conscience. So that's what you have. I feel like that was very well developed.
I digress. I disagree. Bueller, NE133 says the villains were lame. I agree with him. Let me just say, you thought she was executed at what level? Here's what I thought would have been amazing. have her fighting between her and the inside of the goodness that's still there to overcome that, and then perhaps join forces with Wonder Woman like she does in the comic book to defeat a villain that is not as lame as Maxwell Lord. Because to be honest with you, that villain was just, I mean, come on.
Okay, let me ask you something. What is the main complaint about the Marvel Cinematic Universe's villains? What's the main complaint?
I know what you're going to say because you and I discussed this. The fact that the villain has basically no motivation, no backstory, right?
He's bad. They're bad to be bad. They
bad.
just need a bad guy. So they throw a bad guy in there. They don't develop it. He's just a bad guy. And so Wonder Woman gives us some villains that there's reasons for their badness, but you don't like it. Nobody likes it. I've read several things online about people who don't like it. But my thing is that everybody doesn't want the bad to be bad, but then they also don't want these villains that are developed like humans, and everybody's just bitching about it.
Okay, I mean, listen, I guess I maybe one or two villains was too much.
Maybe you need to center on one. I could hear an argument for that. Argument for that.
I mean, I just felt like it was just everything came, like I get that Wonder Woman is supposed to defeat the villain through love and inspiration and all that stuff that is Wonder Woman, right? Also,
yes.
Happens to be able to kick ass awesome too, right?
Yes.
But I feel as though I never felt that in the first one. I felt like it was done in such an emotionally heavy way that it just took us into it. Whereas this one felt hokey. It felt contrived, and it also felt that I was being bamboozled is the word I'm going to use. Because with my emotions, because here's the thing, and I said I mentioned this before. I thought the whole bringing back of Steve Trevor in the way that they did was poorly executed. I also thought that it was unnecessary. For me, if you're going to bring him back, I get it. She wants to make a wish and it brings him back. Okay, fine. But the way in which they did it, I mean, listen, if you're going to make us suspend disbelief and say the dude got put into someone else's body, like the Body Snatchers, or like what is that, Big? The movie Big with Tom Hanks? Or any of those, like, father and son switch daughter, switch lives and, switch bodies or whatever. But my whole point is that why did you have to do it in that way? And it just kind of felt just like, dude, just make him come back from where he said he was. Where were you, Steve? Where were you, Steve? Oh, well, Diana, it was a place where I didn't know. I just kind of can't remember it. Come on.
Okay. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. I do not disagree with that because the emotional weight of losing him a second time was not the same as in the first Wonder Woman. So I agree with all that. I just think you're wrong about the villains. But let me ask you this. So 0 to 100, what do you give the film?
I give it a 48.
You're crazy. I give it a 69. 69, baby. 69.
I give it 48.
Are you fucking crazy?
I may be. I may be.
I'm gonna go with you are. I'm gonna go with you.
I may be, but I don't see it.
Okay. Well, let's talk about another film because I think we need a comparison point here. And you and I went back and forth on how do you compare this film adequately. Mm-hmm, and so what we landed on was Captain America Winter Soldier. And I do want to explain why we landed on that before everybody fills up the comments complaining about it. So let me just explain. So both first films were set at a time way back. One was World War I, one World War II. They're both individuals who are out of time. Like they're from a different time, thrust into a modern world. And I think it was really funny, too, because my wife and I were rewatching Captain America Winter Soldier. They also both go to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum, also in the film. crazy. Apparently, this is just what you do if you're from the past and you get thrust into the present. You go to the Smithsonian. So it's what you do in Washington, D.C. But both films also in D.C. So there's a lot of comparison points here. Both characters of Captain America and Wonder Woman, just like ultimate images of goodness. Very few like glaring character flaws. So we ended up with, okay, let's compare Captain America Winter Soldier to Wonder Woman 1984. So I started with Wonder Woman. We'll truncate this. I know time is getting away. We'll truncate it, but I'll let you, microphone down, sir. But I'll let you start with Captain America Winter Soldier. What do you like? What do you not like? And is it better or worse than Wonder Woman 1984? That's what we're
Well, I'm going to say a few things. One, I'm going to say without a doubt that Captain America Winter Soldier was by far 100% way better executed than Wonder Woman 84, in my opinion. Okay. And the reason for that is I felt that they propelled the story further without, it was a continuation of the story without revisiting too much of a good thing in the past. Because I think when you do that, it was great that they brought Bucky in, and the element of the villain of Bucky being transformed. I think that was extremely well executed, and I think that by doing that, you propel the story and you raise the stakes. You get everyone involved that loved the first one, because Captain America, the first one, the first Avenger, actually was actually one of those films that when you revisit it, you think, man, it was really well done. One of the early Marvel. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So for me, the difference between the Wonder Woman and this one here was the fact that you propelled the story, you up the stakes for all the characters involved, and for me, that was how you do a story that you want to bring from the past forward, because you can still have those elements. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of parallels between Captain America's love interest and also Wonder Woman's love interest.
We'll get to that. We'll
talk about throw it at you. Just so everyone knows, I am going to blank out my screen for a moment to just make sure that there's no additional camera issues that might falter due to battery issues. So Kyle's going to bring us through this journey while I just go. You're going to see me go quiet for just a moment as far as my screen, but I'll be here talking. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, sir. Okay. So. Where Captain America has his first actual fight with Bucky Barnes, and there's he has the metal arm punching the shield, and then he has the knife, and he's doing his whole knife. I don't knife fight anybody, but and he's like Captain America stops him with the knife, and he drops it below the shield, and then he tries to stab him, and I'm just like, God damn it, they are so good at choreographing these fight scenes. Oh my God. And honestly, on that primarily alone, I like Captain America Winter Soldier better than Wonder Woman 1984, because the fight scenes are that good. Just phenomenal. The directing on that movie is so good. So I go Captain America: Winter Soldier. Now the question though for you, and you alluded to it because I did prep you with this question because I thought you would laugh too much if I asked you live without telling you about it first. I want to know who's the better love interest here. So Wonder Woman and Stephen Trevor, or Captain America and Bucky Barnes. Which is the more interesting love story to you, sir? Because Captain America and Bucky Barnes are definitely doing it. Like, that's without a question. They're definitely doing it. It's not off screen, but they're doing it.
All right. So let me just say,
you're embarrassed by the question, aren't you?
No, I'm not embarrassed by the question, and I think we would be doing a disservice to render those two characters as of love interest. I would say that you have two brothers that have been completely torn apart by a series of events that one has to do with the other, meaning there's a cause and effect there. So for me, you have that too. I was really referring more so to the Captain America's love story with what is her name again?
Peggy Carter.
Peggy Carter,
I don't even
right?
want to get into that because you know what I realized when I watched this movie again. So jumping way forward to the latest Avengers film, Endgame. So that they retcon this whole thing to where Steve Rogers went back in time to live his life with Peggy Carter, which introduces just so many just like issues, really, because there's so many time travel problems with this. But anyway, I really like that movie too, but whatever. But I go back and I watch it, and so you're telling me that Steve Rogers went back in time, lived his life with Peggy Carter, but nothing in Civil War indicates, or in Winter, I'm doing it now, just like you, but nothing in Winter Soldier indicates that that's the case. And I've read every single like fan theory about this, and it does not hold water when I watch this film. So there's a part of me that I'm watching it going, I know what happens in Endgame, and now this is like I'm looking for those clues of like, oh, was he there the whole time? An older Steve Rogers, and no, he's clearly not. So it becomes even like a bad retcon.
Well,
I still like the movie. It's still a really good movie.
Right, I know. But everybody, let me just call Kyle out here. This is the Kyle who said just a minute ago that the wishing well was an effective storyline.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. I said the villains in that film were good. I didn't say the wishing stone was a good plot device. Those are very different things, sir.
Well,
don't misrepresent me.
Fine. Let me just say this. The set pieces were amazing, but here's another situation, and I think you can agree. We'd be remiss not to mention the fact that not only do you have the two characters, because see, Wonder Woman and Cheetah, they were friends, but here's the thing. We did not...
not really.
It wasn't... but right, and it wasn't built. You know what I mean? Like, Bucky... Captain America, that was built. Steve Rogers.
Different scenario, though. That's
different. I know it is. But what I'm saying is that I just felt like obviously the stakes were up and everything. But you also you also have the opportunity, which you have done effectively, to introduce the character of T'Challa, which is
that's Civil War, man. That's Civil War. It's a whole different movie. Movie. Why
do I keep?
When did you last watch this film?
I watched it. Well, it's been a while since I watched it.
Don't mind me. Did you go watch Civil War instead of Winter Soldier?
I'm not gonna lie. I watched Civil War, but in fairness, I do obviously remember the set pieces, and I remember a lot of the story. I remember quite a bit of Civil War. Of Winter Soldier, and the whole really arc of really Bucky and his transformation to evil, and then Captain America's just trying to grasp at and get back to his friend and get his friend, and you know what I'm saying, like that whole like good versus evil and that whole redemption arc that begins with Winter Soldier for Bucky.
But I don't know. I don't feel like Bucky Barnes is not the villain of that movie.
No, he's not.
He's not. The villain of that movie is Hydra again, which I'm just like, don't care. do not care. We're evil for the sake of being evil, which is the villain problem we were talking about earlier. So that film, the Winter Soldier, is saved by the Captain America Bucky Barnes relationship and the fight scenes.
I completely
Specifically,
agree.
those two things.
The choreography, the effects, all of it was done well. One of the things I will point out, we have two different set pieces. The set piece where they're fighting outside in the street, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the highway, I believe it is,
which is great. Excellent.
Great set. So let me give you a little bit of some behind the scenes. Wonder Woman 1984, and you know, I if I had the opportunity, I would bring up these pictures, but they filmed live action in Washington D.C. She was on cranes. She was jumping over cranes, it was live action. All of that was left in the cutting room floor, and they used special effects, which to me, I think really defeated the whole point of really creating that realism, because when you see her jump leaving Steve Rogers, when they share that embrace and she says, you know, I renounce my wish, and she jumps, like, that was filmed live action. They didn't use that, and I thought that was a disappointment, because a lot of the scenes that they had created, including they actually had her landing in a jet that was masked, which was cloaked, which would have paid off the earlier scene. I have to show you this because you see her actually in the wires, and she's sitting down, crotched, and she's literally on the crane landing like that. Be nice. Um, just a ton of, like, for me, things that were wrong with Wonder Woman 84. Obviously, I wanted it to be so much more. I wanted it to be, amazing sequel. I still think Patty Jenkins is an amazing director. I'm not so sure, and not especially now, that she can carry a storyline without help, because she wrote this story primarily on her own, whereas Wonder Woman, the first one, was a co-written by someone else.
I think something too to mention here. I think your expectations of the film going into it were higher than mine were. I kind of expected what we got.
I did not.
I think you had these expectations that it was going to be as good as the first one. In very rare cases, is the second one as good or better than the first one? Very rare cases. I know Superman 2,
right?
That I know that The Dark Knight, to name a couple of examples, but for the most part, that's usually not the case. So I didn't expect this to be, I think, this epic journey that maybe you were expecting. So I don't ultimately think that, aside from the villain thing, that our takes are that off. But I think the expectations, you're a little bit more let down than I was.
I was let down, yeah. I was. And I think it was because you have such, there's very little representation for a female heroine on film up until recently. And so you want it to be great. You want it to do well. Yeah. You know what I mean? You want it to be what Wonder Woman was, an amazing way to bring Wonder Woman into the movie, movie fandom, right?
Movie fandom.
to reference our home, the house of fandom. So, like, it's just it was just, for me, it was a letdown. It was a letdown. I'm not gonna lie, it was a letdown. Now, I have revisited watching it, and I have to say there are scenes that I really enjoy. You know what I mean? I do enjoy the the moments where they're in the desert, and that whole Indiana Jones vibe, when she's underneath the truck, and I like that. I thought that was pretty cool. But then you have moments where the effects don't really work. When she tries to save the kids, and that's very same scene towards the end, it looks completely out of whack. It looks CGI'd, and everything
does look bad.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
That part doesn't look good.
It doesn't work at all. So it's just a few other things. But ultimately, I'm hopeful that that they'll get another crack at it. They're going to get another crack at it. Wonder Woman 3 is being, is in pre-production. It's going to happen. I mean, obviously, from what I understand, HBO Max they're not worried about it being pulled from theaters. It's made about 150 million. Obviously, if it would have been, if it would have went worldwide, full on release, it would have went over $1 billion. But then you have the factor that the reviews weren't good. Rotten Tomatoes is on Rotten now because of the fact that it's a
Is it? I
very.
thought it was in the mid-60s.
Oh no, not
Hold on,
anymore.
hold on, hold on. Let
Do
me
your
just.
do your little research
I'm
right
gonna
now.
fact check you.
Yeah,
Hold on.
fact check me right now.
I
Go
will.
ahead. Go ahead.
I don't remember seeing that, but
Go
I
ahead.
just want to check before you get off here. Hold on, don't go anywhere, people.
We're here. They're
Yeah,
here.
I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes and it says 60%. Okay,
Oh,
calm down there.
so is that considered? That's not
That's,
certified fresh.
no, but it's not rotten.
Okay, but Rotten's 59, so you're lucky you
Yeah,
didn't get to 59 yet.
I'm just letting you know, just that
Okay,
you're
but I
wrong.
think it might
I
have been
like you
50.
being wrong. I like you
Okay,
being
well,
wrong.
it might have been 59 at one
I just want to take the opportunity for you to be wrong.
time.
That's truly all this is.
So real quick, because we're nearing the end of our episode, and I appreciate the fact that in a happy coincidence, we Kyle and I were not planning on going full on live, but we're still we're creating the wheel here, like learning things, and obviously kind of looking at the playback. It seems like all of the issues that happened, and so I would like to actually publicly go on record as to say, so Kyle, would you say then that you were perhaps wrong in just deciding that maybe we should or suggesting that we completely abandon what I was doing with the system that I'm using, since we've had a successful run?
Do you want to talk about the like 4 other examples where it didn't
Hey,
go
hey,
right?
hey, listen, the Wright brothers, okay, that's all I'm
Are
gonna
you the
say.
Wright brothers?
I'm not, but I'm just
No,
saying,
no.
Rome wasn't built in one day.
You
Rome
know how many
wasn't
times
built in
you've
one
said
day.
that over the last 3 weeks?
Well,
I swear to God.
listen. Rome wasn't built in one day. That's what I'm gonna say. And the point is that it's working. So can you said you like to me to be wrong. I don't want you to be wrong. I just want us to be right. So can you at least give me that?
That
That
right
that
now it works.
it
That right
looks
this
like it's
moment it
working.
works. That right this moment it does work.
It works perfect. What are you talking about? Everybody's
That's what I said. Right now, this evening it works. I'll give you that. I'm giving you that.
okay. Fine.
What do
So a
you
couple
want?
of things. Okay, fine. Couple of things to unpeel. What to look for, and we're going to continue to talk about sports, movie fandom. We're called the House of Fandom for a reason. We're going to cover just a wide variety of different things. One of the things that we plan on doing is continuing our reviews of current movies, but also revisiting movies from the past that could relate to the movie we're currently reviewing. But it doesn't mean we have to go far into the past. We look to be reviewing in our next segment Tenet. That's an interesting one that Cal and I have been talking about. The Tenet is the most recent Christopher Nolan film that was released earlier on in the fall during the COVID epidemic. A lot to unpeel there. From what I understand, it is a very, very interesting film. So we'll talk more about it in our next showcase. The other thing I want to point out is that we do have another show, another brother show. It's the Townie Sports with Vic and Sammy. And I got to tell you, these guys, they have really, really great love of sports. And, I'm excited about what they're bringing to the table from the sports side. And you'll find that we may even visit each other's shows to kind of talk through different things as we go through our new episodes in the future. Especially, and Kyle, may not want me to talk about this so much, but we have to. I'd be remiss not to. The Super Bowl will be in Tampa, and we are in the Bay Area, and so we are looking forward to doing some on the on site segments, as well as going live in front of the stadium as close as we can, to have Townie Sports and their hosts kind of give us some play by play, and really talk about all the news of sports, and Kyle will as well. So Kyle, any other thoughts you wanted to kind of say before we kind of end our first official, like, successful, hopefully, episode?
I'm counting this as a win because you just gave me an out from watching the rest of the Mandalorian. I just have to go watch The Sopranos, which apparently is better. So I'm going to count today as a win.
Well, wait. Real quick though, what are you in season 2 yet?
I finished season 1.
Okay, so let's get through season 2, buddy. And you only have 35. Well, the first episode of season 2 is about an hour long, and then you're dealing between 35 and 40-minute episodes. You can get through season 2. Get through season 2. We need to definitely unpack the Mandalorian. We need to talk about that because you have listen, everybody. For all my Star Wars people out there, I know that there's a lot of you that are disenfranchised, but Kyle, his heart has been broken.
Yes.
Broken. I don't know if the Mandalorian can heal it. Kind of like the Grinch that stole Christmas. You know, his heart was like little and then it grew 3 times. I don't know if we can get Kyle to love Star Wars like that anymore. But my opinion, Mandalorian is going in the right direction to make amends to all the crap that happened with the sequels that we just, in the last 5 years.
I wish everyone could see that right behind this camera right now is a bookcase full of Star Wars books. Full of them. Just so many Star Wars books. Stupid amounts of Star Wars books. I grew up loving Star Wars, and they have given me the finger over the last 20 years. And I'm at this, done with it. I'm just over it. Over it.
Well,
that's it.
I just would tell you to just please finish watching Mandalorian season 2. Everyone,
Sopranos, pick one.
Myself. Well, I want you to finish what you started, okay? And by the way, I want you to finish what you started. I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked by the chat.
Quit reading the comments.
Right. Well, I want to interact with our listeners that graciously joined us. But I will say this: one, finish The Mandalorian, please. Then we will move on to the Sopranos. In fact, it would be great to do a segment of each episode that you watch, so I could talk you through the characters in real time. That might be a good segment for us to do, the Soprano Corner. Yeah, hey, listen, man, everybody loves the Sopranos, and I have a feeling you might like it too. Now, before we go,
I'm skeptical about the you part, not the Sopranos. I'm skeptical about you narrating it for me.
Okay. So, real quick, Sammy, he's calling on Moby.
Yeah. So this is a great time to talk about that. Sammy is the Sammy from Townie Sports.
Yes.
You should watch that show to hear all the outlandish, Boston bullshit that occurs on that show. I swear to you, they're my boys. Okay, don't get me wrong, but there is some nonsense from those.
There's a lot of. They talk a lot where's the car? Where are we gonna go? Yeah, did you watch that show? Yeah, that show is crazy. Hey, I'm Vic.
That's a terrible accent.
I'm Townie Sports. This is Vic. I'm from Boston. Wait. Where's
terrible.
The car?
This is just
the car?
horrible. Just horrible.
No, good.
I think
Where's yours?
Oh my god! I'm not trying that. I'm not from there. All
right, where's the car? Did you watch the show? The car?
Okay.
I'm gonna go to the car.
We're divulging into nonsense at this point.
All right, real quick.
Nonsense.
So Townie Sports, Wednesdays, 7:30 p.m. We should be rolling on time going forward. Kyle, you don't even want to know the behind the scenes that I have to go through. If the stress levels in my mind with Kyle, because Kyle's like, "Are we there yet?
Are we there yet?
Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" And I'm thinking to myself, "Okay, we got this, man. We got it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna go live. We're live. Okay, fine." But my point is that, yes, our brother station, our brother show. I call them brother because they're two gentlemen, Vic and Sammy. They will be talking a lot this week about the ramifications of the Bucks win, as well as all the other happenings in sports, including the upcoming championships this weekend. And that's going to be an interesting show. I look forward to seeing it. Kyle, any other Any other thoughts? Are you going to be singing or what's going on? Like Moby, they keep bringing on Moby.
They keep bringing on Moby. Who's asking about Moby?
Sammy.
Tell Sammy he can FaceTime me afterwards and get a private showing, full of dancing and everything.
All right. This is a family-friendly show.
This is
Real
not
quick.
a family-friendly show.
All right. Well, it's not. We did rate it as not. But I do want to say, if you do have an opportunity, we will be showcasing in our whole theme of Lights Up. It's movies, sports, and more. And Kyle happens to be a singer. He has some really great music that he wants to bring to the table. So we look to be highlighting those different pieces between our interviews and towards the end of the show and the beginning of the show. I think it'd be great to highlight some of your stuff. I think it's pretty cool stuff. And also Sammy, our own Sammy he's who would have known? The real Slim Shady is here, bootleg style.
Bootleg style.
So we look forward to that as well. So thanks again, everyone, for coming on and just listening to us today. My name is Clark, and my co-host is Kyle. And we're here with the House of Fandom, man. We're here to bring you into everything of the world of entertainment fandom, and we look forward to bringing more to you next week on another episode of the House of Fandom. This is Clark and Kyle. Have a great night. See you guys.